Let's go back to the issue of those Timbuktu manuscripts. We're joined by Mohamed Mathee, lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. Mohamed, thanks very much for your time this evening. Now, I understand that you run a department that is dedicated to studying the content of these manuscripts. Just give us an idea as a researcher of what we may have lost here.
Okay, I was a researcher with the UCT Timbuktu Manuscripts project. Currently, I'm at the University of Johannesburg in the Department of Religion Studies. But that still continues at the University of Cape Town. I'm still part of the UCT Timbuktu Manuscripts project. Yes. Yes.
Talk to us about what we've lost here.
Well, I think that most of the manuscripts from the reports that we heard, myself and my colleagues and I, in the UCT Timbuktu Manuscripts project, it seems from these reports that the manuscripts are okay. A few have been destroyed, and it has not been confirmed that the Islamists or the Ansaruddin fighters destroyed the manuscripts. These have not been confirmed. On the contrary, it seems that most of the manuscripts are okay, and the building itself has not been torched.
Okay, so let's get this clear. Do you have sources on the ground who are telling you this?
Yes, in Bamako, in fact, Dr. Mahmoud Zubair, who is the first director of the Ahmad Baba Center that was established in '73, the one that the South African government and people contributed. From what we heard from him, that most of the manuscripts have been removed prior to the events of the past week, and that these manuscripts are with families and are safe. And in fact, a few months ago, I spoke to somebody in private libraries, so it seems that most of the manuscripts are safe and have not been destroyed as reported.
You know, it's interesting what you're saying, because some of the reports we've had in earlier said that not all of them had even been moved to the Ahmed Baba Institute to start with, and that many residents had taken it upon themselves to try and keep these. So are these in safekeeping in homes right now?
Certainly from the reports, but of course as events unfold we will hear more, and from our context, once telephone lines are re-established in Timbuktu, we will hear. But from one of the senior researchers at the Ahmad Baba Center, where I worked quite some time during my research, he said that 10,000 manuscripts were removed, and they were taken from the old building to the new building, the one that was built by South Africa. But Dr. Mahmoud Zubair, the first director of the Ahmad Baba Center, said that these manuscripts were removed and placed with families. But we'll only know, be able to confirm the truth once we have contact with people in Timbuktu. But from those who are in Bamako, who lived in Timbuktu, it seems, as I say, that most manuscripts are fine.
Mohamed, I must ask you this. I mean, these are obviously very old documents. There must be very specific ways of preserving them. How good an idea is it to give these kind of documents to a layman to look after? Shouldn't they have rather been moved to a secure place where they could be archived safely without any kind of damage occurring to them?
I think here we need to be specifically proud of South Africa, because what South Africa did was to bring Malians here and train them in South Africa. So the people who are working at the Ahmad Baba Center have received training from South African National Archives. So they were pretty professional, if you want, And so what happened at the Ahmad Baba Center was that the restoration process was run by people trained in the art of conservation and restoration. It's a pity that it took some time for the manuscripts to have been moved from the old building to the new building. So, and the new building that is really equipped for doing this. So I think it's extremely important for us to look and for the preservation of his documents. But the South African government sending people all the time, and South Africa has really been doing a sterling job, I think, in helping the Malians to preserve these priceless manuscripts.
Mohamed, how good an idea was it to house all of the manuscripts in one place, knowing that there is the possibility of war in a country like Mali? We've seen it coming for months, and the fact that this exhibition has travelled before. Don't you want to house these in several different countries for security's sake, basically?
Perhaps during war, but and war is really the exception. I mean, it happened in the 1990s. But if you don't house them in one place, then there are other dangers, the elements, the fact that other places are not equipped, do not have the proper equipment to look after these manuscripts, so they will be destroyed in other ways. So it's unfortunate that war takes place, but it is, and nothing is really waterproof if you want, but it is probably the better idea to house them in one place. However, I must say there are many private libraries, and so the people of Timbuktu, and this is for a long time, even when colonialism came at the end of the 19th century, people always had their ways of protecting and preserving their manuscripts, so that people will think on their feet when that comes. But I think it is probably the better idea to keep them in one place where you have all the equipment, where they are protected, you know, the correct and the correct temperature, etc., in vaults, and that was the idea behind putting up this new archival library by South Africa, its government and civil society indeed.
Mohamed, how many of these documents have been digitized?
Like, I think at the Ahmad Baba, quite a few. There are about 31,000 manuscripts in the Ahmad Baba Center alone. Of course, there are many more in the region, in Timbuktu, in the surrounding towns, you know, and villages. I think about, I'm not sure about the number, but I think about 9,000 or so of the 31,000 at the Ahmad Baba Center, those have been digitized. And in fact, it's a continuous process, you know, because you can't stop, because manuscripts are coming in all the time from villages. They are collecting manuscripts, and then they first have to restore them if there are damages to them, and only once they restore them can they then digitize them. And I think we'd appreciate, given the events of the last year since March 2012, that probably that process was interrupted. But I must say, many manuscripts have been digitized. As researchers on the UCT Timbuktu Manuscripts project, they have given us, through the intervention of the South African National Archives, they have made available to us many digitized manuscripts, and we worked from these digitized manuscripts. Even when we come back from Timbuktu, of course, we do not take any manuscript out of Timbuktu, because the manuscripts must remain in Timbuktu, preferably at the Ahmad Baba Center, because it is at this center that they are best protected and preserved.
You know, it's interesting what you said there, the point you made about this being an ongoing exercise. I mean, we think of this as one massive body of work that's been discovered and been restored and been preserved. You say this is an ongoing, or these fields of research, of finding the documents and continuing to restore them and so forth, is ongoing. Are there many archaeological finds, you know, that are continuously discovered in Mali?
Absolutely. Of course, in Timbuktu, it is more than it's not archaeological, but it is really written intellectual heritage. So you can imagine, there's a small village, a town 200 kilometers out of Timbuktu, deep in the desert. These manuscripts have been with families for generations. So now people don't easily give over these things. So once they convince them, look, it's best that it be placed, again, the idea in one place so that we can preserve them, and so that researchers can come and work and make known to the world what the contents are. So you see that people all the time come and bring a manuscript, and so therefore we said there are about 100,000 manuscripts, and this is a conservative estimate. So manuscripts are still continuing to come in, and when they bring them to the Ahmad Baba Center, like I said, they may have to first restore them to conservation, and so it's happening all the time. Therefore, they can't just finish their job, and thereafter only do researchers like ourselves at the UCT Timbuktu Manuscripts project do we come, and then we say, now we can work on the content, whether in traditional medicine, in Islamic law, in astronomy, etc., and then we can work on and do analysis and then write papers, etc., and present it to the world.
Very, very interesting talking to you. Thanks so much for your time this evening. That was Mohamed Mathee, lecturer at the University of Johannesburg.